the Arc-Aholics. This podcast is a collection of passionate gamers talking about Arc Raiders and various related topics. All content creator guests have their channels linked in the description below. I highly recommend checking them all out, and at the end we'll talk about the cool content we've got planned coming down the pipe. Before we get started, here's a quick shout out to my channel supporters. These absolute legends help make this kind of content possible. And a special shout out to my gold tier supporter, the Tranimal. Check out the links below if you're curious on how to support the channel. With all of that out of the way, let's get rolling. All right, guys, welcome to the 12th episode of the Arc-Aholics. Glad to be back here again. I'm your host, Gecko, from the Gecko YouTube channel. With me, I got today is the legendary content contributor, Rockhoundblack. Thanks for coming back again.
G'day. Thank you for having me back. It's a pleasure, as always.
As always, man. I hope you've have a great week. Moving on, we're going to go with TacticalNed. He returns with us. Unfortunately, Min and Box has caught up with him, so he can't have his face here around anymore. So he's going to be here on audio until otherwise Ed said. Please say hello to everybody here. Ned.
Good to be back. Hopefully my face will be shown sooner than later.
Well, for all our sakes, I hope not. Kidding. And then for our first time, joining us, we have Patriot from the Fringe Patriot YouTube channel. Welcome to our podcast here. Please feel free to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, man, I appreciate you guys having me. I'm super excited to be here. I'm even more excited to jump into the extraction shooter genre and get my first taste of what an extraction shooter is. So as for just a little quick introduction to me, we just run a YouTube channel as well as some live streams. But yeah, we're really excited to jump into some Arc Raiders, and I appreciate you having me.
Anyways, we got some fantastic news, gentlemen. We got pre-orders, right? Right?
Hooray!
So I'm guessing there's about 240 roughish US dollars that are not in existence from this particular Discord channel. Am I right, or am I missing my mark here?
I think that would be right.
Yep, pretty right on.
Actually, I haven't pre-ordered it yet. If I'm being entirely honest,
Get him out of here.
Heretic.
I'm serious.
Get him out.
I'm sorry. You know, they announced this public test coming up, and so I think that's going to be a perfect area to really see if the extraction genre is going to, sink its teeth into kind of what I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm. And that's a really fair answer, actually, because I think that's one of the reasons I really wanted to have you on today, because I tend to swim in these pools, and so a lot of the people that I run into have, deep, if not at the very least shallow experiences in the extraction shooter genre. And so I think you're going to add a little bit of perspective outside of that, and so we're going to be able to really kind of get into what that what that's going to entail. But before we move on to that one, we're going to go with the pre-orders and kind of everything that kind of just the news that came around with that. So whatever, Rockhound, what were your vibes on the trailer? What was your takeaway? Like, I know you kind of had a breakdown, but like just kind of just emotionally, what did that feel like?
For me, actually, I really enjoyed the trailer. I saw mixed comments about it. I really liked. I think it had actually quite a strong Pulp Fiction influence through it, and I touched on it in my trailer breakdown, just mentioning the song Mizzaloo by it's actually an old folk song, but it was became popular in the 1960s by Dick Dale, and then Pulp Fiction, and then I guess the Black Eyed Peas later on. But the trailer itself, if you actually watch it, it actually has very similar narrative parts to Pulp Fiction, where you've got two main characters like the Jules and Vincent in Pulp Fiction. They're joined by someone during the movie who later gets taken out, so they picked up a third raider, and then they get taken out in the trailer. And they're also on a journey to find something that is golden. So in Pulp Fiction, it's a suitcase with a golden glow in it. You don't get to see what it is. And they're after a golden duck. I thought, actually, there's quite a lot of stuff here that's very aligned with Pulp Fiction. So I thought it was very well thought out. And it gave us a few little insights to some new stuff that we hadn't seen before as well.
Huh. TacticalNed, Pulp Fiction watch party when?
Never. I have no idea what that is.
You've never seen Pulp Fiction?
No.
All right.
Oh, boy.
All right.
Okay.
Well, then that's gonna have to happen then at this point. So, but Ned, so what is your take on the trailer?
I thought it was awesome. They showed us some new stuff, but not too much, just enough to keep us wanting more. And I mean, it got me excited all over again because I've been kind of avoiding looking at anything for it because I'm like, oh, so long until we can play.
Right.
But it was really nice getting to watch that.
That's good. That's good. Now, Fringe, you have stated before this is gonna be your first extraction shooter, kind of jumping in. When did you learn about Arc Raiders, and was this trailer kind of like the main trailer that you've kind of seen, or was there other things coming before that? And
sorry, go ahead.
Very good. And if you kind of just had a little bit of experience before Arc Raiders, what did this do to kind of like, was this any kind of new? Is this like, hey, this is like a new thing for me, or is this more of the same hype?
No, so this actually is the first Arc Raiders trailer that I've kind of really analyzed, if you will. All the other ones I've seen, but just seen in passing. I've heard of Arc Raiders really since the end of the last test 2, I believe it was. That's when I really picked up Arc Raiders on my radar, and I was really kicking myself for not even attempting to get into that test.
Okay. And that's interesting because I had a stream at the day after they released it, and me personally, it didn't really hit a lot of notes for me, right? The visuals were fantastic. There were some absolutely just pristine shots, and we can get into that. But like the whole Tarantino, the music thing wasn't my vibe, right? I didn't, it didn't hurt me. It didn't say, oh man, this is totally horrible, or anything like that. But I kind of got the same reaction from a couple people in the chat. And then I asked the rest of the chat, hey, how do you guys all feel about it? And everyone kind of just loved it. And so I think that's kind of maybe some people who are maybe listening to this now and watching this now are thinking maybe, hey, you know what, this wasn't that great. I wasn't feeling it. But I'm going to ask you this bluntly. If you've already bought the game, that trailer wasn't for you, right? Like it's one of those things where it's trying to market, right, to players who don't already love the game, who don't already want to buy the game. And so in my instance, it's like the marketing has to kind of hit everybody, right? It has to kind of hit the people that they need to hit. And so for me, I could have literally hated the trailer, and it wouldn't have changed the outcome of me buying the game or not. So it clearly, so it wasn't for me, So Rockhound, what do you think about that?
Yeah. I actually, now you said that, I really kind of agree. I feel like the trailer had that sort of fun, like cinematic aspect to it, which I think it gives the game a sense of accessibility that it, if you're into shooters and you haven't played extraction shooters before, you might go, oh, this looks kind of interesting. It's got a cool vibe to it. It's got a bit of attitude. But I think you're right. It wasn't really aimed at people that have been following the game for a long time. I think Embark had probably assumed that they're already on board, and they're actually trying to, reach out to others that have known about it but haven't looked closely at it. So I think it would work well on that point. But I can understand why a few people are like, it's not really what I expected. But, if they're already sold, you don't need to sell them twice, right?
Right. And with this being my first reaction, my first viewing of an Arc Raiders trailer, like deep analysis, watching it more than once, honestly, I thought the trailer looked fun. It had a nice mixture of like action paired with a bit of some comedy, with the duck that they threw, right? I thought the trailer looked fun. But really what I was looking at inside of the trailer was the variety in PvE content, the variety in the arcs that they had. I'm curious as to how many of because I never got to play the playtest, and I didn't really watch anybody else play the playtest. So I'm wondering, like, what sort of, were there any new arcs that were like revealed inside of this, or was it all sort of kind of, you guys have seen that before?
Well, it's funny you say that.
My knee-jerk reaction was there was a lot of different PvE inside of Arc Raiders, which definitely piques my interest a little bit. But if I'm being honest, like the PvP part's more what I'm interested in.
Right, and I think It's funny you say that because there is one undisputed new arc. I say undisputed because there's one that's kind of, at least in my circles, have been disputed and whether or not it's new or not. And so we can go ahead and hop right on into the that particular discussion. We're gonna go ahead and talk about the supposed mortar arc that we've kind of talked about. I'm gonna go ahead and put it on the screen the picture that's blatantly displaying the new arc, which is very similar to that of a bastion, but with a giant cannon on top, right? So that particular picture, that's very key in frame. That's pretty much like, it's very small amount of frames where you get to see it fully. Like there's a couple times where you see the cannon and you have to really slow it down to get a full, solid, clear picture of it fully. It basically looks completely like a bastion with a couple of key differences. But those key differences, we can come to that when we talk about it later. But another portion of this, because I think it's shown earlier in the trailer, and I've shared with you guys the picture that I'm going to put on screen now. There's this scene where they're on Blue Gate, the map Blue Gate, in which when the third raider gets taken out, it's seemingly by a mortar shot. And I suspect it's not one of the Queen's attacks because it doesn't look like a rocket, because it would, I think from that distance you'd be able to differentiate between a mortar shot and a rocket. And the Queen's attacks lodge into the ground and explode afterwards. This one exploded on impact. And so given the angle, here's the question in the chat right now, feel free to kind of like give your answers on this. Given the angle of the attack, we can't see where this arc is at. So it can be very close behind a large object, and it's kind of lobbing it very vertically to land where it needs to land. And or there's a flying drone right next to that arc, next to that raider, that looks suspiciously like a Stitch, but it's too far to be sure, but it is flying way too low to be a snitch. Snitches very rarely fly, that low, if ever. And it's already red and aggroed. And when they're red and aggroed, their light isn't directly beaming down. It's like this huge, wide radar-looking pulse thing, right? So my gut, there's a strong inclination to believe this is not a snitch. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, all these items together, is this like a spotter arc? Is this like a spotter drone for that artillery piece? We're gonna go ahead and give you guys about 20 seconds to kind of like, culminate on that. Chat, let us know what you want, what you think this is gonna be. And timer. All right, and Ned, your thoughts?
I did not see a whole lot of that one. I remember what you're talking about, so I'm not 100% sure. I do believe, though, that is a mortar arc. If you look through, I originally saw it online after the first tech test, and I saw it again on the Reddit. There is actually a drawing of that, of like a model of this possibly one of the arcs, and it looks extremely similar to that mortar arc. Which I'm going to keep calling it that because that's what it looks like. So yeah, I do believe that one is a mortar arc, and it's going to be interesting to see how it works. Like you said, it could have the spotter, because if it is, how are you going to know where it's coming from? So maybe if that is a spotter, there'll be some connection between them of if the spotter is doing this or that or whatever, it'll tell you the direction in which the mortar arc is. Because you're right, you don't see where that came from. All you see is the explosion after the round hits.
Yeah, you see the round pretty much whenever that part starts, and I'll be showing it in loop at this point, is, it starts kind of basically in the sky and it's working its way down, and then bam, it hits. And so it's already, and there's actually, even if you look at even at the beginning of that particular loop, there's already another explosion somewhere else happening. And so it's a multiple shot sequence that we don't pick up on right away. It's a very short sequence, but I feel like those two are connected. Rockhound, am I blowing smoke, or do you think I'm landing on something here?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the video now on my other screen here, and I didn't really talk about this in the trailer breakdown because I wasn't sure if it was a snitch or not. It looks slightly longer than a normal snitch. and you're right, it's very close to the ground, which is unusual. It's almost like the tell that you're about to get hit by that missile is that you've got it above you, and wherever the red light is, you need to get away from that. So I would say you've got time to know you need to get out of the way.
There's some counterplay.
Yeah, that's right, and that there must be the mortar bastion, let's call it, because it kind of looks like a mortar bastion, somewhere nearby. So there should be a counterplay. Yeah, it's just that you have time, but if you don't move, you're going to get hit by something that explodes straight away. So,
right,
it seems to make sense. The one thing I was a bit unsure about was it looks so much like a snitch that if it is a variant, then we need to be able to tell the difference between them easily. So hopefully, when you're up close, they do look quite different.
Kind of like the fireball and the pop, how you can't tell which is which.
Yeah. I think. These are the sort of things also that Embark might tweak just before, between the last playtest and now, just the way things look a little, so that the tell for what you're looking at is a bit better.
For sure, and I think the alternative doesn't make a whole lot of sense in my opinion, given Embark's history. The alternative would be the mortar arc has wall hacks, like they once they ping you and they're like, all right, cool, we're gonna just lob it over everything, and it's your job to basically no longer be visual or no longer be attacked by it. And that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, given Arc's history and how everything else works. It would be a very interesting thing. So, Fringe, in this particular scenario, if my assessment is actually accurate, right, you have two arcs that are working in tandem with one another, this PvE scenario. So, Fringe, coming new to this in terms of a extraction shooter space, and you do say you're a little bit more PvP oriented, right? Like, in your mind, does that excite you or put the fear of God in you to think that you have to deal with that, also with the prospect of a PvP player coming around?
That's like my number one reservation is I like you said, I prefer the PvP, and once we start throwing in crazy amounts of PvE, to me, there's nothing more frustrating than being third partied while I didn't want to take on this arc, which aggroed me. Now I got third, and it's just like, man, I shouldn't have even been in that situation. But that is kind of the shtick here, and I'm hoping that it gets its teeth in me. When it comes to this clip, though, I was analyzing this after you posted it in the Discord, and I've got no reference as to what a snitch is or what a snitch should look like. So I was really watching the mortar's trajectory, and if you slow this footage down to 0.25 speed as it rolls through, right before the mortar hits the player, it looks like it does curve just to absolutely dead on hit the player and blow them up. As to like whether or not that drone is affecting the curve, it's hard to tell. But what I think here possibly is meant to be the counterplay is perhaps you see the teammate running away and almost turning back and looking at this drone that was scanning his buddy. It almost seems like this might be something, if it is what you're talking about, something that you're meant to pick up on fairly quickly before it gets right on your buddy, and then obviously take it down. And also, I want to point out that you see that explosion happening in the background. I'm almost wondering if maybe this arc was a little bit closer than we think, and maybe these guys were taking sniper shots at this arc, which was 250 meters away rather than like 700 meters away or something like that, even a little closer even. And possibly that is what was blowing up in the background, because you see that explosion happen in the background. You almost kind of like, when you're watching this at 0.25 speed, think that each little detail might have some form of meaning, and that's just what I got when I was looking at it, because I've got no reference to the bots themselves.
Right, but you're right though. The trajectory is extremely steep, so that arc may very well be in picture, but he's just blocked by terrain, right? He may be very close. And so I immediately, when you were talking there, it reminded me of a particular PvE enemy. Ned, have you played Hunt Showdown?
I have not, but I know what it is.
Okay, so anyone who's played Hunt Showdown, there's a particular PvE enemy. I don't know the official name for it, so skewer me in the comments. Let me know what it is. Right, it's a very beefy, headless dude who has like a big old melee thing, right? And he can't see other than what he has these slugs, these leeches across the ground, and they're patrolling. And when they hit you with poison, and then the big guy gets to see you, right? And so what I'm thinking here is I can very well see a situation where there's Mortar Bastion. He's not really going to be a huge threat at close range, but he'll be a big threat because he'll have maybe not just one, but maybe even multiple patrolling drones looking for spots for him to shoot. I just peed a little bit because that sounds scary as fuck. Rockhound, what do you think?
Yeah, it makes sense. I like the idea of them working together. I mean, we already know snitches kind of do that anyway because they bring in other Arc when they, not only detect you, but get the opportunity to alarm following detecting you. I think it would be a nice variation to have this, and it feels like it's the sort of action that also gives us time to counter the play by moving away from the location. Mm-hmm. So, and then obviously you've got to take out that
closer.
Yeah, exactly. And you've got to take out that snitch variant to stop the mortar rounds coming down on your location. So I think it sounds like a great, Arc variation to me.
That would be insane to think about in terms of the amount of coordination. Because we know that the machines have in this game, the PvE element have very strong AI learning. You can see very clearly in how they fly and how they move their legs, things like that. This would be in like another level where they're basically actively communicating and sending signals. Because we haven't seen that before, where other than the snitch, the snitch just basically just spawns new Arc. That's basically all it does. But it doesn't like coordinate in that regard like directly. Where this would be the first time we see Arc directly coordinate, and I can start to see if you start doing that with other things as well. Arc start to get pretty damn dangerous. Like Ned, like in your mind, if you had like two Arcs that you did not want working together in tandem like that, which would they be?
Probably the Bastion and the Bison.
Oh,
because that Bastion is going to absolutely decimate you at mid range, and that Bison's just going to keep you out of cover the entire time.
Yeah. That would be a rough situation. And for Snitch, for Fringe's sake, the Bastion is the four-legged thing that just jumped up in the air.
Okay.
And so that was the imposing giant four-legged part that jumps, and basically what it tends to do, it'll just do that. And so there's no way you can outrun it. The best you can hope for is get inside of a building and then come out another direction and then just leave.
That's the Bison, right? The Bison.
That's the Bison. Whereas the Bastion is effectively a very big tank with a minigun on it, and so it's very slow. So you can tend to kind of move around the flank. But those two together, I agree with Ned. Is that those two together would be an absolute nightmare to deal with. I promise
Fantastic.
I promise you, it's probably going to be a thing though.
Sorry.
Fantastic. Sorry.
That's all right. You go ahead.
I mean, it's not that I'm not excited about the PvE. I can get down on some good PvE. Just the frustration that comes from getting third-partied inside of the PvE. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah. So one thing I was going to point out was it's hard to know how much we should read into the trailer, right?
Right.
So can we take this a step further and go, okay, not only are we being shown what might be a new Arc variant, but we're also being shown that on what we're assuming is the Blue Gate map. Right. And so does that tell us that there might be variations between the maps as far as what variants we see? So like on Blue Gate, maybe we see some variants we don't see on other maps. And then that can sort of speak to things like, okay, well, as we play through the game and, you talk about, Gecko, you and I have talked about a lot about going from the starting out towards end game. Well, at some point, there have to be things that get elevated through the game, right? And it's not necessarily just going to be stronger PvP because people have more gear, but there might also be ways that Embark can present us with different types of Arc that get harder and harder on particular maps or new maps as they get introduced to us. So the question is, are Embark showing us in this trailer that there are going to be variances between the maps that actually take us to a new level of Arc? Right, so we see like Damn Battlegrounds as being the easy end. Maybe Blue Gate is further up, and we get variants on that map that we don't see elsewhere. And do you feel like I'm overreading that, or do you feel like that could actually be the way they sort of scale things up through the game?
No, I agree with you on that because like the Bison, unless I just correction, the Bison is on the damn battlegrounds, but it's only down by like the lakeside, kind of out of the way. Um, Same with the Bastion is if there's a Bastion on dam, I can't remember running into one on there, except for I correct myself again. It was on the roof of
Yeah,
that big building in the middle. But they're all like kind of out of the way. And then as you get to the other maps, they roam more. So I actually wouldn't be surprised if they do something like that, where they increase the amount of the harder AI, or give us, like you said, different variants. Because, like I said, I corrected myself multiple times, but on Damn Battlegrounds, it was a while before I saw the Bison or the Bastion because of their locations. They did not wander from where they were, and they were kind of out of the way. Whereas the other maps, that Bison on Space City was just roaming around, and you could run into him at any time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would be. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just real quick going to back up for just a second to something Fringe said earlier about the PvE and how he was worried about being jumped by players during PvE. Really, in Arc Raiders, my experience more was worrying about the AI jumping you while you're in PvP. One thing that me and a couple buddies ended up doing was when we got into
Equally
fights with
frustrating.
players. Yeah, when we got into fights with players, one of us would go and grab the Rocketeer and bring it in, and then get it focused on the other team, and it would pretty much help us out as long as we stayed out of line of sight.
You
Or like,
son of a gun. You son
yeah,
of a
or like
gun.
the Wasps and Hornets would be like, oh, there's action over here, and so they'd start wandering over if they were close enough and start shooting the first player they saw. That is more annoying than a player jumping you, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's
And
almost
they're
like you
actually,
expect the player.
there are other mechanisms in the game to allow for that action to happen. So if you get a snitch scanner and you throw that, that will actually draw Arc into the location that the scanner lands.
Yep, just like how the snitch calls in the Arc if it spots you.
So
throw
there's
that,
there's actually a utility grenade that basically acts
So
as
it's
that
yes,
PvE
so-
third party. Okay, fantastic.
So it's not a grenade. Well,
Yeah, it's actually deeper
there
than
are
that.
grenades that do that too. But
It's
so
deeper than that.
if you take out a snitch and then loot it, you'll get a snitch scanner out of it, and that scanner will trigger other Arc to come in when you throw it. So it's kind of like a grenade, but there are also lure grenades as well, which you can use to send Arc away from
Like the
you
duck.
and go and look in another direction, like the duck. But the lure grenade lasts longer and it makes it a pinging sound and so on.
It's kind of like a Mega Man type thing where like you take the snitch, right? So the snitch, its main function is basically once it's fully aggroed, it spawns two arcs, right? And so you kill the snitch, you take the main component that comes from that snitch, and then you lob it like a grenade, and you have the snitch power that spawns, the arc, right? So that's one tool, and then like as Rockhound alluded to, there's an actual grenade, that lure grenade that doesn't spawn anything, but it draws so much noise and sound directly from other arcs. So there are mechanisms in which to, both remove your own aggro while adding aggro to somebody else if you wanted to go that route.
Well, I hate to jump so far back here, but since we're talking about snitches, what I was gonna say earlier is I think that if we're going off of your theory that it's a mortar arc, I think that Rockhound, sorry, I think that he really nailed it on the head when he said that there needs to be some sort of a variation in some way to distinguish the differences. So if we're talking about this new map that they're revealing here being like the next tier of arc that we're going to have to deal with, which is going to be even more challenging than previous maps, I think even more so that they need to distinguish, is that just a snitch, or is that a snitch that's getting ready to call down a mortar on my teammate?
It'll probably be very subtle, kind of like the Wasp and the Hornet. One of them has a machine gun, and one of them just like hits you with this like stunning bolt. It's really annoying. Does a lot of damage. But both of them, they look exactly the same, except one has more armor than the other. And once you learn that pattern, you can tell which is which. Unlike the Pop and the Fireball, which I believe the Pop is a little bit smaller, but they look exactly the same. And other than that is the Pop is faster, and the Fireball will drop its part, and the Pop drops a separate one. So each of the Arc, like I said earlier, drops a specific component. Some of the components can only be used for crafting, and other ones are useful, kind of like the Snitch. Whereas the Fireball, when you kill him, you get a Molotov. I believe the Pop does the same thing. Like you take their component and you can use it in that raid.
Yeah, and for perspective, that those two arcs that he's talking about use fire as their main weapon. So the fact that you turn around and use it as a Molotov is just, again, these are things that you're kind of like adding to the, okay, I can reasonably take this from here and use it from there. It's like the very scavenger-esque type, play style.
Yeah. So you said use in that raid. You can't take the Molotovs out, or can you?
You can take it out. Yeah. You can take it out. So it's just something you can
scanners out as well.
Do what?
You can take the scanners out as well.
Oh yeah, you can take it all out. Like there was one guy in the last tech test that brought out like 20 of them and went into one raid and launched all of them at once. And what would be really cool, I was thinking about this while you guys were talking, is if that one really is the spotter pretty much, is if the component for that one, you can take it and you can throw it, that scanner causing any nearby, if this is a mortar arc, to start shooting down where you threw it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like the idea.
There you go, man. All right, so real quick, since we're going to get a chance to find out, well, maybe not all of this information, but at least far as some of it, sooner rather than later, we've got the stress test, server stress, called the Server Slam, that is coming up on the 17th through the 19th, and we're all going to get a chance to play it. There's no keys, no nothing. They're going to really try to stress that test up, get as many people in there as possible. So it's going to be interesting. And now, for those of you who don't know, it's going to be a pretty limited test, right? And I think this comes with some stipulations based on what that is. And so for starters, we're only going to have the dam map. So it's going to be I don't mean like a derogatory. That's what the map is called, the dam. It's a dam map, and it's going to be, based off of their wording, is going to be somewhat limited in terms of progression, in terms of the quests that you're going to be able to do. So it's going to be essentially like a demo. Right, it's going to be free. Everyone can download it. It's going to be basically on every platform, even Epic if you count it. Kidding. But it's going to have everything there. And so I'm super excited for people to kind of get their first chance to play that. However, here's the stipulation that I have, and I kind of put out there on X the other day, is that because it's going to be such a short amount of content, right? I think it's going to be very, very aggro, very fast. Because people are going to run out of things to do, and they're just going to go and just start launching, right, straight towards players. So I feel like for those of you who are excited about the game and are getting people to play it for the first time, maybe just kind of let them know, hey, this might not be the most balanced experience you're going to find, but you're going to get the gist of it. Like, Rockhound, have you heard anything similar to this? And like, what do you feel about it? Am I off base on this one?
Yeah, no, I think that's probably pretty much spot on. I think it's going to be like a demo is probably a good way to describe it. So, you get taste of one map, and really the fact that you have multiple maps in the game already that we've, played in Tech Test 2, you had that opportunity to go, okay, we've collected this item that we needed on the dam map. Now we want to go to Buried City and get something else that we need to craft an item. Well, it's not going to be like that so much. I think it's going to be more that just a taster of like fighting Arc, fighting against other players, doing a bit of looting, but that side of it's probably going to be not quite as important as it actually will be in the game at launch.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Ned? You think that's going to be an issue or a benefit?
I don't think it's going to be too bad. I estimate about 5 hours, 6 hours or so of like actual stuff to run through for each person before they start being like, all right, all I got to do now is just go find players. Yeah. But the thing about the dam map, and I think it's one of the reasons everybody always refers to it as like the starter map, there is no great go-to way on dam to get fantastic weapons. I'm not saying that you can't do it. It was just very rare. Whereas with Space City and the other map that is not in my head right now for some reason, those two, there were certain areas you could go to and you could find great weapons. Every time I went to the launcher pad right in the middle, I called them the Twin Towers of Space City, I would always find the Bobcat submachine gun, the Tempest rifle, or that OP shotgun. Every single time I'd find one or the other. So I had lots of those just from doing that. And so I could just hunt players all the time. We don't get that on Dam. I don't think I found any of those on that map. And so I think that's going to kind of balance it out to where, yeah, there's still going to be those players that, hey, I'm just going to go hunt everybody else, but they're not going to have the OP weaponry at their ready at all times like they did in the tech test.
Interesting. So Now, being the only one here, Fringe, that hasn't played the game or haven't played any extraction shooter, I'm curious to hear from you and as well as your community. Like, what are you guys looking, in you in particular, but also maybe you can add some perspective from anybody that you engage with that is also in your same boat. Like, what are you looking to gain from playing the game? Like, just in this kind of state, just like, what's the one thing you go, I want to know this before
in the
pre-order.
state of the beta, in the state of this upcoming test here, because that's happening. Honestly, this is the first that I'm hearing of all what you guys are talking about right now. So I've got more questions than I have feelings right now. So
Shoot.
like my first thought is kind of what Ned was just talking about. We're basically going to be stuck in like almost like a primal rust. We're gonna be stuck in the early stages with our weaponry, and I think that's interesting. And I think that with the test, that gives people like me who haven't been able to play Tech Test 1, Tech Test 2, and we don't have all of the actual like groundwork put into this game. It's going to give us a chance to not feel like we're lagging behind because we're stuck in primal. And that's kind of one of the things that I'm looking forward to in the beta. For me personally, I don't know exactly about my community, but I think, mostly them as well. They're looking for some high risk, some high reward levels of PvP. That's really what I like to get into. So honestly, that's about it. Some high risk, some high rewards, some intense situations put on by whatever, and I think that could totally still be facilitated on one map and even stuck to the lower tier of weapons. But the other question that I have, and I'm wondering what your guys' thoughts are on this, or if they've made it official, what quest line are we going to have access to? How many quests are we going to have access to? Because for me personally, as a content creator, I'm really trying to get in here and see what's happening with the quests and like which ones are the easiest to knock out in what order type format. So do you guys know exactly what's going on with the quests that are going to be available?
For the most part, they're all pretty much, you get one at a time up until a certain point. Then it'll start giving you like two. And there wasn't really like different ones going on. It was just one continuous one with different objectives to go do or things to go visit. I think unless they actually just put a wall up and say you're stopping right here, there'll be a lot to do because there was a good, I could be wrong in the number here, but I want to say 20 to 30 quests before it required you to go to any other map other than Damn Battlegrounds. You could complete almost all of them unless it's specified anywhere, but around that 20 to 30 mark, I can't remember which one, then it was like, hey, you need to go here in Space City or you need to go do this, and it was only available on that map, stuff like that. So there should be a good amount to do.
Yeah, I remember that being the case as well, is that I had to go out of my way to go to Spaceport and just like I'm kind of tired of damn, I want to go to Spaceport. Spaceport's my favorite map. Most people
Lots of PvP.
Yeah. So here's the funny thing about it to consider that and Rock, I want to get your take on this because I'm not sure if it's the same in your community. I remember asking in chat what everyone's favorite map was, and Damn got the most overwhelming amount of a response to that. And so, do you feel like maybe that's kind of like just true of everybody, or maybe did I get like an isolated pool?
Good question. There's something special about Damn. I think it's a great map to start off on because it allows you to explore. And the quests, like we were just talking about, are quite varied. So there might be something you've got to go and like take a water sample from one of the dam like outlet pipes, and then the next one you're going up into the tower to collect something, and then you've got to go and fix an antenna somewhere, and then repair a radar hatch. So the quests are quite good at showing you the map because they sort of force you to explore it a lot more. I think it's a good generalist map, and I think it's going to be a great introduction for people who haven't played the game before. I know a lot of people did actually like Buried City because it was intense PvP action quite a lot of the time, but then some people don't like it because of that as well. So,
right.
Yeah,
it definitely felt like it lacked balance in that regard. In terms of like, I know there's a lot of people here as well as elsewhere who really, really concentrate on the PvP portion of the game, and I'm one of them. Right, but I feel like the game is great because it has the balance, right? It has that give and take. You're never really, you know, pigeonholed into doing like, it's not that you can't just do one, it's that you're kind of forced to contend with both, and it's a kind of beautiful balance to that. And I feel like Buried City, because it's smaller size and it's in its verticality, there's always a gunfight nearby, and you're never really too sure just how quick they can be at your position, or how far they are in terms of not even knowing you're there.
So here's the thought around that. I think because because the playtests are so short, right, just a few days, I think naturally people actually play more carelessly because they know that they don't have weeks ahead of them to try and build up gear. So there's less gear fear and all that kind of stuff. And so you go in Buried City and everyone's just going crazy. But I think when we actually get into the release version of the game, probably when people are trying to progress, they'll actually play a lot more tactically and more slowly around Buried City and be more cautious because they will be mindful of their progression, whereas you're not so mindful of it during a tech test.
For sure. And that's kind of like what my thoughts were on the test itself, because it had such a not only just a cap on time, but a cap on progression as well, which would amplify the effect of people kind of capping out and then, okay, cool, now I'm going to go push gunshots, right? And for Fringe's sake, it's interesting because you're saying you're looking for that PvP action, and I think Damn actually does a good job of that, because there is anyone who's played the game can tell you, research, you go there, it's constant gunfights. It is just, that's the one place in that map that, you know, if you want to avoid a gunfight, don't go there. Like, it's just a given. I'm not sure if anybody else got the same experience, but like for me, I felt like anytime I had to go near research, I knew there was going to be a gunfight. Like, either I was going to be involved or there was going to be some other people being involved, but either way, it's going to be a gunfight. So for you, Fringe, does that maybe, like, what does that do for you? Does that excite you? Does that maybe make you want to, like, oh, hey, you know what? I want to maybe make it more balanced, but also, like, I know there's a spot I know for a fact I can always go to get a good gunfight.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, I've got no experience with extraction shooters. My previous background with PvP inside of games, realistically, way back in the day, and for most of my childhood and whatnot, we grew up playing old school RuneScape PvP there. And I don't know if you guys know, but long story short, it's almost practically full loot PvP out in the wilderness, give or take a few things. So I'm used to the risk versus reward and the gear fear. I'm curious though. I'm more curious than anything actually, with you guys having access to the tests. You know, with people once they have the gear, did they have multiple sets of the gear and that's why there was no gear fear? Or was it like, oh, I got the weapon, I got the new legendary weapon, and the beta's ending anyway, so it doesn't matter if I lose it, and that was their only one. So had lost it, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, like, hey,
I remember specifically.
I'm all about it.
People weren't trying to keep that top tier weapon for next week, you know.
But you don't think they were also, like, possibly stacking multiples of them? How easy was it to get? No. Okay,
so Space City, like I said earlier, was a fantastic map for getting great gear. It was very abundant every time I went there. There were some times I wasn't even there 10 minutes and my squad had to get out because we were already full of a bunch of the guns we wanted, you know, purple armor, all that kind of stuff. But the other way to do it is you can complete, I'm going to forget what they're called now. They're like an accomplishment line of quests that you can do. And
mastery.
Mastery, that's what it is. Thank you. Yep. So when you do the mastery, there's like a bronze, silver, and gold rating, and you have to do all of it in one round. And it actually gets very hard. I only completed 2 of them during the tech test. But a lot of those really, really good guns were locked behind that. Now, you could still find them out in the wild and get them off players. But once you completed that, if you got a silver rating, they gave you the weapon. Then, of course, if you died, you lost it. If you get a gold rating, you unlock
recipe.
The ability, the recipe to craft it. And so, but it did require, like, one of them, I can't remember, it was the Bobcat. One of them required you to have a part from one of the higher end Arc. So it wasn't just like you could just go find the stuff and leave and get it. You had to go kill those Arc and get out with their components in order to even craft that weapon. Also, with that too, to add on to what they were saying is, I think a lot of the reason people liked Dam so much is exactly what Gecko said, is that one location on Dam always had fighting all the time. Everywhere else on the map, it was very scarce. Not saying it was never there, but it was very rare that you'd run into it. Everybody would always go to that place to fight. Yep. And then Buried City, extremely PvP heavy. Space City also had a good amount, but there were so many good locations to go that people kind of just did whatever. There was the hangars and the towers that I found the most PvP in. But yeah, Buried City is where you get your constant heavy PvP going on. And I agree with Rockhound that when the game actually does come out, I don't think we're going to see that as soon as we did in the tech test, because nobody cared about their gear. They knew they weren't going to have it in a couple of days, so everyone was just gung-hoing it, getting down those mechanics of the combat so that they'd be more prepared when the game actually came out.
Yeah.
And something that you spoke about at the start of that was the mastery and quest and so on. I think for newcomers coming to the game, you'll need, this is kind of a tip, you'll need to realize that it's not just a case of going out and finding good loot, and that will lead you to have good gear, which you can get and then get into strong PvP action with. You actually need to pay attention to the quests and the mastery opportunities to get those extra blueprints and ways to craft good weapons. Those aspects of the game are just as important to help your progression as finding good loot.
That's actually exactly what I was getting ready to say when Ned was talking about that. Because like I said, I can get down on some good PvE. I'm not against PvE. And these quest lines that you're talking about having to be done all in one round and being somewhat complicated in order to possibly earn the gold to earn the recipe. I mean, like that's a really good quest reward that has me excited for a quest. And you guys might not know this, but if anybody from my community is watching this, for me to be excited about a quest is something, because I am your classic scene skipper, if you will. So honestly, so that's really cool to hear. Those are some realistically
and the way
rewards.
they've structured it as well. So it's not just there's quests which kind of go in a row. You can have a few of them going at once, but you've got to kind of complete one to move on to the others. Right. Whereas the mastery is kind of an open book, and you can go in and it might be like you've got to do a certain amount of damage to bisons within one round, which to get the top reward might be taking out both bisons on the damn map and within one round, as an example. But you can do that any time, right? So you can just choose to go in and go, hey, we're geared up, let's go and take out the bisons this round, as opposed to the quest is more linear.
Yeah. And the hardest one was definitely the one for the Tempest, where you had to do a certain amount of player damage. And I think that there was big speculation that damage to armor didn't count, or damage to downed, did not count, because I went through with two of my buddies. We loaded in and we went up against like 7 other squads and we killed all of them. And I did not complete it. I got a little bit above silver. So I had most of the kills. I killed most of those teams, and it still did not give me it. So that one was very challenging. The other one was the grappler, because you had to go find both Rocketeers in order to actually do it. And you had to do the majority of the damage. But I think, if I remember correctly, it actually counted, like if my buddy was doing damage to the Rocketeer, it counted, and vice versa with the players.
Yeah, right. I think that's a cool aspect of the game, that the quests are shared through the squad. So if someone completes it, you count to win.
Someone in the comments is going to mention how stupid I am, because I'm actively remembering stuff that I already knew I knew as I'm talking and having to correct myself.
Hey man, it is what it is. It also, it's a really great quality of life feature in terms of having squads do missions and then getting credit for those missions while your squad is doing it.
It was amazing.
Because honestly, I've played in plenty of extract shooters where this wasn't the case. It was just always so damn annoying. It was just
especially, hey, both of you have this kill quest to go kill this specific enemy, and there's only X amount. Then you got to do it multiple times. Whereas in Arc, you can just do it in one raid.
Yeah, that gives it a real community feel as well. Like if you're playing with randoms, right, to achieve something as a squad always sort of bonds you together a bit more.
Yeah. Now,
they did fix that, Gecko.
I know. I don't know they did, but it's just like that just gives me just flashbacks to that. And so, speaking of masteries, all right, and this may or may not be related, right? Because I put out a poll. There's a recent change in terms of the Steam description for the game Arc Raiders, right? That it had this line that are getting a little bit of a kerfuffle around everyone here. It had this line that may or may not be speaking to a possible ranked mode, right? And I'm going to read the line out real quick to see just verbatim what it is, and I'll just go ahead and put it on the screen here. And say, as you make a name for yourself, you'll be able to measure your skill against other raiders by taking on trials, rising through the leaderboards to earn valuable rewards. And I put out a poll on my community as at the time of me getting ready for this. We had about 200 votes. The vast majority, 61%, believe this is a ranked mode. I put out a couple of other options, basically being it's either a new new game mode, period, not necessarily tied to ranked. A new game mode, that one got 11%. Special quest line, that one got like 22%, and we got like 7% of miscellaneous. And so kind of consider that for a second. That's a couple of comments that I kind of want to highlight, just to kind of just throw some thought there for you guys to kind of chew on a little bit. A comment from Rogue. It would be cool if not just a simple ranked, but something like a Hunt's Showdown single objective based mode that'll fit the wording trials even more. All right, and then finally, Harax using different he was more of, or was saying that it could be something similar to that of Warframe's mastery system, and not being familiar, this person did the due diligence of explaining it to me, and so it's basically using different weapons and characters awards mastery points, which upon reaching certain milestones unlock tests, or it challenges upon completing you unlock new sets of weapons and characters. In essence, rewards you for trying out the entire arsenal instead of just one or two meta things by unlocking additional new stuff by trying and resulting in a progression loop. So, and then there's the mastery system that we just finished talking about, that these trials could easily revolve around something similar. So, that with all that being said, in your mind, I want you guys to picture what this sentence really means. Again, chat, I'll give you a chance to kind of like think about this for a second. I'm gonna go ahead and read it again. As you make a name for yourself, you'll be able to measure your skill against other raiders by taking on trials, rising through the leaderboards to earn valuable rewards. All right, chat, what do you think this means? We'll go ahead and give you 20 seconds. All right, let's go with Rockhound. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think we can probably rule out it being a separate ranked mode. I don't think Embark will go down that path at all. I think what this gives the opportunity to do is actually just compare players to one another. So we're all ranked, I suppose. So the two ones I think of are just your actual progression. So it would be nice to see, you can see your progression within your game, but it would be nice to compare that to how are my buddies progressing through it as well, and be able to see their progression and where you rank relative to them. So I think that aspect is quite likely. And then I think the trials part of it is probably more a bit like the mastery thing. It's like, okay, but maybe slightly longer. So you've got to take out, how many Rocketeers can you take out? And then we get, a list of people who have taken out 45 Rocketeers, and, you might be down at 21 or whatever. And that might be a nice way to compare between people. But I don't think we'll see a separate mode for ranked. I just don't think the game really fits that. And I would be highly surprised if Embark went down that path.
It's interesting you say that, because I've always had a skepticism when it comes to a ranked style mode in an extraction type game, because just the way it plays is a weird concept to add a competitive type situation like that. And so it would have to be a very unique type setup. Ned, I do believe you have the most experience out of all of us in this regard, in the sense that ABI is probably one of the few extraction games that actually has a ranked mode. Could you kind of elaborate a little bit on how they do it, and like just how that would fit a game like this?
Yeah, so ABI and Delta Force both have ranked mode. They're somewhat similar to each other, where it's more of a grading system. You have to manually turn it on. It's not always on. And one of them, I honestly can't remember if it's ABI or Delta Force, will prioritize putting you against players of a similar grading. I'm going to call it that because it's not an actual ranked mode. And the other one does not. So like you could be the highest rank, but still be playing with the one that's the first one. Like it's not guaranteed you're going to get people of the equal rank. But the way it works is when you turn it on, it goes off of how long you've survived, the worth of all the loot you bring out, the quality of it, the AI kills as well as player kills, and extracting as well. So like you could do all of that and not extract, and depending on what rank you are or grade, you'll still move up. Where once you're the higher grades, you'll actually go down if you don't extract most of the time. But then when you extract, you get the most points from it. And I'm just going to go ahead and touch on this since I'm already talking anyways. First off, the master thing you mentioned earlier with the Warframe thing, I completely get where that guy's coming from, and I get it. I've played a lot of Warframe. I don't know if that fits into this game. I can kind of see how it could try, but it depends on how they would do it. But as for the grading system versus the rank system, I love a ranked mode where you're going against people of equal skill. That's what you know you're going against, and you're pushing for those higher ranks. I love that. But the more I think about it and the more people I talk to, I do get how that would be hard and kind of unreasonable for an extraction shooter. Like if Tarkov had that, I would never play it. I am not doing that because people are just going to rat it out,
right,
to get stuff like that. That's annoying.
Right, and just a real quick thing. That's I only have a very minimal amount of experience in ABI in this particular regard, so maybe you can touch on that. It's like my experience with ABI in a ranked mode is that the amount of aggression gets dialed down to infinity because there's so much emphasis on the survival at that point that the gameplay itself changes dramatically, and not necessarily for the best. Like, does that you concur on that?
I could see that. I have not personally ran into that, but when you get, it's been a while since I've actually looked at the numbers and everything, but like one or depending on the rank you are, you could get 2 player kills, and whether you survive or not, you're still going to move up a little bit. So knowing where that is on the points, I wouldn't care. I'd push okay, I know there's going to be a spawn over here. I'm going to push that spawn, get my 2 kills. If I make it out, great, I'm going to get a ton of points. If I don't, I still get the points for getting the kills.
Interesting.
If that answers your question.
Well, I mean, I only know this because I played rank, just a little bit when I played the game in earnest back when it first released or early access. But a lot of content creators that I've seen that are playing the game have infinitely more hours than I do. They noticed they basically stopped playing ranked because they noticed that once they got to their rewards, their capped out rewards that they were going to get for that ranks for that season, they pretty much just turned it off entirely because they noticed the gameplay would just slow down immensely. And I was like, obviously, as a content creator, you want more action, you want to create good videos, good content, and so that would be kind of counterintuitive for them to keep playing ranked mode. But me, I'm kind of interested a little bit in not necessarily ABI's ranked mode, but in their different lobbies in terms of tiering, like the minimum amount of loadouts that you need to bring for certain types of lobbies. Can you speak to that a little bit? Kind of just for the sake of the audience, kind of explain how that works.
Yeah, so what they did was certain maps, you could only bring in a max amount of what your kit was worth. I can't remember all of them right now because they've changed them a little bit recently, so I'm just going to throw out some random numbers. But let's just say for farm, it's 250,000. If you cannot equip stuff that's worth more than that. And I'm sorry, I need to correct myself. It is not based on the map. It's based off of the difficulty mode you choose, which all it affects is how high of a gear you can bring in. So if you're choosing the lower one, then you have a lower gear cap. If you're choosing the highest one, the more difficult one, you're choosing a higher gear cap. So there's going to be better loot. You're going to find more of the red items, but you're going to find a lot more geared players.
But to be fair,
people are going in there just to get the loot.
Right. To be fair, though, some maps are just straight up unavailable unless you're going into a higher bracket.
Yeah. So like TV Station, you cannot play TV Station on the lowest difficulty because it has a much higher loot pool of more rare items. So you cannot do that on the lower difficulties. I believe farm it can't be played on like the highest difficulty. I haven't tried the highest one yet. I avoided it because I am broke on ABI. I have a stash of 18 million, which is not a lot because I'm going against people with stashes of like 800 million.
Right.
So I just never touched it.
Kind of a little out of control.
Yeah, I stay in the middle ground.
Right. Just for the fun of it, basically.
Yep.
Interesting. And in Fringe, based off of that description in that sentence, what's your take on that? What are you hoping, and what do you think what's gonna happen in the game with that?
Honestly, like when we're talking about ranked here inside of Arc Raiders, I totally agree with Rockhound. It's just it doesn't really fit. And then when we even look at Ned and how he's describing how ABI's rank system works, to me it almost sounds like it's just describing a more of a glorified leaderboard that was up until when he said that you actually will get demoted in ranked, because that's kind of what I was bringing up in the Discord as well. Is it really just seems like if the ranked mode is strictly based off of how much loot you extract, how many kills you get, this is stuff that you're going to be passively gaining anyways. I think personally it would be more interesting if instead of a ranked mode like Rockhound was saying, it was some sort of leaderboards that you could just compare to, or leading into possibly like Ned was saying, I believe, and Rock, that some bigger end, trials, a little bit bigger than masteries even.
Interesting. Here's another thing to think about. I think you guys have all brought some really excellent points. I kind of came into this thinking that probably is 100% going to be a ranked mode, but I think you kind of all brought really strong points that made me really question that. And so here's another possibility that I thought that was the other side of it. Can you think of it in the sense of like they're setting up a quest line? It's like, hey, we call it trials. And so there's like specific quests, and they can really rotate these on in terms of like a weekly or however they want to do. And so you begin trial, kind of like a world tour. Great example would be kind of like that, in the sense that like here's a set of quests, boom, you're gonna try it, and you're gonna see if you can complete them, and then you can compare your results to people on your friends list or the top leaderboard or something like that. I think that might be more plausible and more likely. What do you think, Rockhound?
Yeah, I think one thing to remember is if we sort of think about what the core pillars of the game are, one of them is that this game is accessible to players, and there'll be people coming in that this is going to be their first extraction shooter. There might be people that come into this game that's their first shooter altogether, and I think so. That's kind of the base of where the game sits. It's in that sort of serious casual part of the market. It's welcoming new players to the genre, but then there's going to be a group of players who want to prove themselves as well. And in other games, they might play a strictly ranked mode. I think what this is more likely to do is give those players opportunity to kind of demonstrate their prowess without actually separating them from the rest of the group. So as an example, a trial might be, it might run for 7 days, and it might be how many wasps can you shoot within 7 days? And so as well as just playing the game normally, a person who wants to rank highly on the leaderboard might just go, every time I see a wasp, I'm going to go and take it out no matter what. And that would be a great way to sort of incorporate or satisfy both of those people, because you're not separating ranked off. You're keeping everyone together, so the game's still accessible. But you're giving those people that are really competitive and can put 30 hours a week into it or whatever, the opportunity to show their abilities.
Right. I could easily see a world where, much like the Harvester Hunt type scenario variation of a map, that they add like a arena or contender, whatever they want to call it, other than ranked, but it's basically a ranked mode, like that rotates on the map, and this is the area that you go to, and you have to have a certain minimum of gear in order to go there. I can easily see them kind of like doing something like that. It would be very difficult for them to do, and the benefits, it cuts both ways. There's a benefit is that you have the individuals who really want to like be in the mix, not be in the general population, right? And bringing just hunting down the individuals who this is their first extraction shooter, and they're still kind of getting, their feet wet. They're not in the general population, so to speak. They're in their own arena essentially. But the other side of that equation is that in order to incentivize this, you're going to have higher loot tables. And what's going to happen is, I fear, like I've put into my no wipes clan video, is that they're just going to go to this place, get loaded up, and then they're going to bring all those spoils back to the general population anyways.
Yeah.
So
that doesn't make sense, right?
It's going to come with some downsides to go along with that. Though I know that some people listening to that would be excited at the prospect of it. It keeps coming back to the extraction shooters genre is really, in my opinion, ill-suited for like a competitive ranked kind of PvP mode type like that. So it's just like, I have a hard time seeing it. I mean,
yeah, but don't you think that you could like people could see the prestige in wearing the badge as the #1 bison killer in the world?
Yes,
right?
yes, 100%. And for me, a ranked mode is one match in. If you win or you extract, you're up. If you don't extract, you're down. Like, it's got to be like pretty plain cut. You start throwing in way too many variables in an extraction, talking about loot extracted, kills taken, and a lot of that can be cheesed anyways. And inside of these ranked modes, it will be cheesed. And like you're saying, it will also slow down the gameplay. That's natural with any sort of ranked mode. Apex Legends, you're trying to grind out into masters, and it's going to get slow. It's going to get really, really slow up until obviously the last circle. But I mean, it's still going to slow way down.
Right. The nature of the game changes because the motivation changes. And so I've said consistently in some of my videos, show me the motivation, I'll show you the behavior. Right. And so as the stakes get higher, your ability or wanting to risk things diminishes considerably, in which case the aggression starts to die down a little bit, which is not necessarily a bad thing, right? It's like, you want to give people incentive to be aggressive, but to a point where it's not basically just a death match. And so,
like Rockhound said, even something as simple as like a cosmetic badge showcasing that you killed 10,000 bison in 7 days is going to get the competitive people pushing. They don't need much.
This guy's never fought a bison.
They don't need much.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be happy with 10 bison. And
we were all thinking it. We were all thinking it. To be fair, Ned's the one who said it, though. I mean, we get what you were saying. We get what you were saying. We get what you were saying.
Right. We would have been overboard, but regardless,
bisons,
they don't need much to compete. You don't need much incentive to compete. Something like that would definitely do it.
Yeah, I want to be there the first time that you fight a bison, because it's like the funniest thing. The first time I ran into one was Space City, and I was running towards the towers. It was like Spaceport. I'm sorry. I keep saying Space City because
I couldn't deal with it anymore. I'm like, I have to correct them.
Dude, I have been jumping around so many games lately.
No, you're good, man. You're good. I just
Delta Force and ABI, and it's just throwing me off with the names. So everyone in the comments can be like, "This guy's stupid." I agree with you. I'm totally confused. Anyways, on that one, the first time I ran into a bison was I was running towards what I call the Twin Towers, and all of a sudden it got shady. And I turn, I'm like, what the heck is that? And I look up, and there's a bison like 5 feet from my face jumping on top of me. Scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, I think I too would like to be there the very first time Fringe fights a bison, because I think everyone has that moment when they fight a bison for the first time that they really don't know what they're getting into. Because it's like, it's not that it doesn't look scary. It's just typically when you see it, it's from very far away.
And then it very quickly gets a lot closer.
It's like that Looney Tune episode. You're like looking at him from like the binocular, right? And you didn't realize you have it on backwards, and suddenly it's in your face. Right? And it's like, I learned the hard way, you cannot outrun them. There's no way. It doesn't matter how much stamina you have, you cannot outrun them. So it's like,
they will chase you.
They will chase you, and they don't have to try very hard to do it either.
I could be wrong on this, but I want to say it was Show XR who I was playing with when the first time he saw it, and we were on top of a building, and he had that sniper rifle, like the only one with the scope, and he's looking through. He's like, "What is that spider down there?" And then it jumps. He's like, "Oh, it's gone." And then as soon as he unzooms, it's coming right at him, and he had the exact same reaction I did to when I first saw one.
Right? Because at least with like the Bastion, for example, you can outrun it. You can move behind cover. Like it's slow. It's extremely powerful in just the front. Everywhere else, though, you're like, whatever. I can do my thing, right? But the Bastion and the Rocketeer right? And plus the Rocketeer's in the sky, so you can usually be like, all right, well, it's up there. I kind of know where not to go, except for the fact that it had no sound in Tech Test 2, so you didn't know it was on you until it was literally just like right there staring at you in the face. But the Bison though, man, it's one of those things where like it just, as soon as you're aggroed, man, you just turn around, hit W, and don't let go. Like it was one of those things where if you had a head start, you were lucky, and if anything else, you just jump into a room or into a building somewhere and close the door.
What was even better was attracting that and a Rocketeer at the same time.
Yeah. Could you not then, dip into a room, close at the door, maybe hope some
you could try,
or some other poor raider walks by?
On that map that we're referring to is you had to cross this big open field with like 3 structures for you to hide in various areas. And so if they saw you before you got to those, it was a race for your life to try to get to that structure before they could catch up to you. But yes, going inside would keep it from you. It would like eventually get bored and move away. But if you didn't get to that structure in time, it was going to melt you.
And chances are all the other raiders are going to avoid that area, seeing the Bison sitting out there. I see.
Yep, they're like
pretty stuck.
Yeah, usually when you see something like that, you just point and laugh. It goes, ha ha ha, not me. Keep walking.
Yeah. Early tip for your Fringe: learn the keybind for stowing your weapon because you run a lot faster with your weapon stowed.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. When you need to get away.
I've heard that. Speaking of which, is this game mouse and keyboard? It's on console, so it runs on controller as well. What do you guys play on? Mouse and keyboard or controller?
Mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, mouse and keyboard.
Mouse and keyboard for the lots of you, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I see. I don't know what it is. I'm a controller guy, but recently we've been swapping into mouse and keyboard recently.
Hey,
so
fun fact: I played controller for 20-something years, close to 20 years. And I learned how to play mouse and keyboard the exact same time I was learning how to play Escape from Tarkov.
Jeez.
Oh, wow.
That was brutal. But I learned.
You learned. I mean, that's like having the Catholic nun right there ready for you with the ruler. You learned. It's going to be painful, but you'll learn.
Finger the wrong button.
Right.
I'd imagine just about, especially inside of an extraction. See, with survival games, I play on mouse and keyboard because you're dealing with inventories, you're dealing with, menus and all this, that, and the other. And it's probably a lot of the same inside of an extraction shooter. I'm not sure if you can loot as quickly on a controller as you could on the mouse and keyboard.
I have my doubts.
You can set the buttons up to do it quick. My buddy played on one, and he had it set up pretty fast.
He got it swinging. All right, hey, we might have to give the controller a shot then.
There's keybinds you can do to it.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
Yeah. I feel like the game actually doesn't necessarily need you to loot quickly. It's not an extraction shooter where that high speed, taking loot away as fast as you can.
Yeah. And luckily the sound is so good that you could always tell when somebody was getting close to you, unless they crouch walked up. That happened very few times, but everything else you could hear, so you'd have plenty of time to react to it.
Right.
Doesn't amazing sound design make such a difference to a game? When you can convey
I keep hearing this. I keep hearing this, that Arc Raiders sound design is immaculate. It's immaculate, and I don't doubt you guys, but I've heard this going into a lot of games. So you guys are overhyping this, right? I'm gonna be able to hear footsteps.
Amazing.
I'm not gonna be slapping my headset the first day screaming, "There were no footsteps." That's not gonna happen.
No, see, I have a video. I know I have a video with where I'm not talking. I just kind of put the sound. I believe Gecko has one. Like, go find people that have those no commentary ones where they're not talking. You can hear everything. Like, the sound is amazing in this game.
And of course, as being a content creator, you kind of know sometimes it just doesn't translate. When you're in your video or the sound or whatever it is, sometimes it just doesn't quite get the full feel, right? And I would say that's the case, at least in my videos. I'm not that much of an expert when it comes to this part of it, the technical side of it, right? But I can tell you for sure there have been many cases where I have won gunfights because the texture of which they were walking on told me exactly where they were.
Yep. And you can hear like their reloads. Like I could hear when that last bullet, like the rattler, it's a very distinctive sound. I called it Arc Raiders M1 Grand.
Yeah. Ping.
The rattler had a very distinctive sound when it ran out of ammo. and it was like a very common gun to find and for people to use. So as soon as I heard that sound, I would rush that person.
It was actually the most common gun in Tech Test 2, according to Embark.
Yep.
And to give you,
it's trash.
Yeah. Oh no, if you upgraded it to like level 3 or higher, it becomes a beast.
Yes, upgraded, yes, but until then, it took like 2 to 2.5 mags to actually kill somebody, and that would piss me off.
Yeah, it's an absolute trash gun.
If the strategy is to listen to the last clip, you could like, what's the weapon swapping like? Because you could potentially use like something like that to your advantage. It's slow. Ooh, because I'm thinking you unload you unload the whole thing as soon as you run out the last bullet. You can expect that this guy's gonna rush you because he heard it, right? So you swap out your next weapon. Haha, joke's on him. You're ready to turn the corner. Who's rushing who now? You know what I mean? Right. So what's the weapon swap
and it really depends too. Like in the situations, I totally get what you're saying, and I do agree with that. And like the situation I'm referring to is usually you can tell what weapons they have because whatever weapon they're carrying and then the weapon on their back, their secondary, you can see both of them. So like if someone was carrying a Rattler, which is an assault rifle, and the Pharaoh, which was like it's like a bolt action that didn't have a bolt. It took forever to put it was like a one-shot gun. You had to put the next one in. It wasn't a shotgun. It was a one-shot rifle. Let me word that better. Yeah. So if I knew they had a Pharaoh and a Rattler, and that Rattler ran out, I was rushing that guy. Especially if I knew I had the health to eat a Pharaoh shot, I was rushing that guy. That guy was not beating me.
Right. And it's interesting because if you can look at the gameplay, you'll notice there's a distinct animation of them swapping weapons. Right?
Yeah, they have to actually put the gun back on their back and then reach over, grab the other one, and pull it forward.
Oh, so it is a pretty chunky animation then. Okay.
I want to say it's like
it's smooth.
I want to say it's like 2 seconds max. I want to say like it's not like 5 seconds or anything, but you can actually see them putting it back, putting it on them, and then reaching over and grabbing the second one and pulling it out.
Right. It's smooth. The animation's very smooth. Don't get that wrong. It's just
not like Call of Duty swapping.
Yeah. In a gunfight, 2 seconds is a really long time.
Yeah. No double pumps. No double pumps. I got you. I got you.
Right. So let's see. We've gone through that. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to this debate that I've had, even in my own household. Can you believe it? Son doesn't know better. It's all right.
Unbelievable.
I know, right? Heretical. There is a point in the trailer in which one of the main characters throws the ducky. Right? We all know that part of the scene where he says, "Sorry, kids." Hits the duck, hits the stormtrooper looking dude, comes down, makes a noise, and an arc comes out from the shadows. We get a brief look between the guys in the legs with the duck and everything. It's a beautiful shot. Right? I've shared this shot with you. I'm gonna have it on the screen. Right? I contend this is a Bastion. Right? I contend that's what it is. But however, there have been plenty of people who've said, "Hey, I don't know if this is a Bastion or not. You sure? We don't see it for very long, and we don't get a really clean look at it." I'm gonna ask the chat real quick. I'm gonna give you all 20 seconds to decide for yourselves, see if what it is, what or not. That's what I believe. Maybe I'm wrong. I know what happens very rarely, but it happens. According to my wife, all the time. But whatever. All right, I'll give you guys 20 seconds to figure that one out. All right, guys. So before I supply a screenshot that I believe will demonstrate my position, irrefutably, in my opinion, does anyone here disagree? I'd like to hear your thoughts.
I do. You have to DM me that screenshot too. It's not letting me see anything you're sharing on the screens.
Oh no, I haven't shared it yet.
Okay, no, I'm just talking throughout the whole thing. I haven't been able to see anything you've shared. It's on my end. It's my computer. But I don't believe it is. Number one, the coloring is off, and there's lighting and blah, blah, blah. That armor is not the same color, in my opinion. It is also, the form is smaller. It is shorter, and it is thinner in terms of width than the other Bison. And we can't tell exactly, obviously, in that how far away it is. I assume it's very close based on the reaction, everything it's supposed to have. But like I went back and I compared it with all the footage that I found on my end that I have of bisons, and I was like right in front of them at times meleeing them just to test out different ways of damaging them and stuff. I think it's too small to be a bison. It's also the gun. If you look at the gun and you compare it to the bison's gun is bigger than the one on that one in that frame.
All right, so I've shared a screenshot that I have in the podcast channel that you can see. Right, I'm gonna go ahead and put it up on the screen here at this point in time. And the reason it's interesting that you pointed that out because I was about to say most people don't find themselves in front of a bison for very long. One way or the other, they just don't want to be there, or they're not gonna last very long, right? So most people don't actually get a good look at the bison from the front. Most people don't even know it actually has doors that opened up to reveal the gun.
Yep.
Right, and
the bastion, you mean, not the bison, right?
Excuse me, not the bison.
Yeah.
The bastion. The bastion has that.
Yeah, bastion.
And it has enough details in its front to show that, at the very least, it is a variant of a bastion. At the very least, but I would contend that it is in fact a bastion because all the dots line up, on this one. Fringe, being the least experienced of the game, you're able to compare the two screenshots that I gave. What are your thoughts? Is it the same animal?
The bastion, correct me if I'm wrong, the bastion is the big one with the cannon on its head that you showed in the second picture.
No, it's the one with.
Look in the podcast channel. He
put
them both
podcast
up.
channel. I put them both up.
It's the giant tick with a machine gun that shreds you.
Okay.
Rockhound put up one as well. I'm gonna go ahead and add that one to the screen as well.
Looking just knee-jerk reaction looking at these pictures. The one on the top is confirmed a bison.
So is the one on the bottom.
The one on the bottom
the
is
same
confirmed
thing.
a bison as well.
Yeah. Neither of these are the one from the trailer.
Okay.
Yeah, Bastion.
He does have the little
Bastion.
nozzle. Oh, Bastion. Sorry,
That's right,
it does have the little nozzle.
Both
on
the
it.
pictures in that chat are the Bastion.
And I see what you're saying in the first picture now. That light I thought was on top of his head, but I think you're right. That light's not on top of his head. It's like on the background or something, isn't it? Honestly, I think you might be right. Is a bastion not supposed to be indoors or something? Is that what the issue is? Or are we trying to debate if this is a new
We never saw them
arc?
Indoors.
Yeah.
And they're also too big to get inside 90% of the buildings.
However, this is evidently on Blue Gate, and we've seen enough of Blue Gate to know there's probably a fairly large space indoors, underground, or wherever it's going to be.
If you take another look at that first picture you showed, there's like busted down cars in the background, so they're in like some sort of parking garage or something,
Right. I think
like
that's probably
indoors, but outdoors maybe.
I think that's in the trailer, earlier in the trailer when they're in that serene underground spot after they've just been hit by that mortar, and they're like, and then they're kind of getting approached. You can see like there's a shadowisk, silhouette look of their new opponents coming across. In that area, basically that's when their gunfight presumably happens, and that's presumably where they throw the ducky, and then presumably that's where the bastion / not bastion comes out. And so right now it's basically more of a contention: is this a bastion or is there something new? Because that's basically the contention at this point. I would say I'm gonna have a strong leaning towards it being a bastion, but I'm happy to be wrong. Honest, I'm happy for more arcs.
So the second picture you showcased of the confirmed bastion also has that silver plate on the bottom as well. I think it is. I think it is a bastion, or like you said, at the very least, a variant of one.
Yeah, and I'm going 100%. It's a bastion. I think that picture I posted with the bastion in the sand dune, like Buried City or something like that, is from the Arc Raiders wiki. And just that front plate down the front and the little notch where the machine gun sits down the middle of the armory as well. I think it's too similar not to be. They might have made a slight variation to it, just to maybe up the top where the lighters might have changed a little, but I think overall everything else looks pretty much the same to me.
Yeah, that's for me. That's basically where I stand on that one. I'm sure we can probably nitpick at all we need to. But I don't know. I'm always happy to see more arcs personally. Like if here's the thing. I remember when I first saw the Bastion for the first time in the Tech Test 2 trailer. Given how aggressively it looked like it was moving forward, evidently, obviously, it moved way faster in that trailer than it ever did in the actual tech test. It'd be scary to have a Bastion that had like maybe like a shotgun style gun that can actually move a little bit faster that you typically found underground. That looked very similar to the current Bastion. So obviously super dangerous, obviously super cool to think about. I don't know. I find myself unconvinced that it's not a Bastion, and who knows? Chat, man, give me some comments. Give me some what's going on here. Hit me up on X. Give me a screenshot. Give me something, because I'm curious to see what it could be. No? Okay. I wanted to make a quick statement for anyone that was listening. I know there's some people who've kind of thrown up a lot of noise in some circles about regional pricing, and I've stated openly, and I'll state it here. There's a philosophy I try to live by. Try to learn the particulars of a situation before you make food hole noises with your food hole. Right? I don't know enough to make any particular commentary. I put out feelers in terms of our Discord, in terms of people that we have guests on here who maybe have some knowledge other than an opinion at the end of the day. I could not find such a person. So in terms of having a discussion on that, I'm happy to have a discussion on that. But as just some guy, I find that I have expertise in gameplay, extraction shooters, but not international e-commerce. So I'm going to refrain from making commentary on a issue that's, again, don't know the particulars of. So one way or the other, I find myself lacking in terms of being able to make a commentary on that. So if anyone who feels offended by that, I apologize, but it is what it is. Right. That being said, what are we looking forward to the most on the 17th? We're going to work our way out here at this point. And what kind of content can we look forward to in the coming future? Let's start off with you, Rockhound.
Yeah, actually, just before we do, I do want to make a comment on the regional pricing thing.
Please do.
Which is that I think, like you said, I think we don't know the full details yet, and we haven't heard from Embark around it. But one thing we should probably try and keep in mind is that this is a studio that has around 60 developers working on this game, plus some extras that might come back and forwards from the finals, right? So they're a relatively small studio. We know they've made some mistakes on various things in the past, potentially around marketing and that kind of thing. I think maybe this is a symptom of the fact that these guys are really creative and they're making an amazing game, and they might lack some areas like pricing for the game around the world. So maybe this is just a hiccup that they're going to resolve. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see them come around and go, hey, actually, we just didn't get this right, and we're going to fix it. So
Gotcha.
That's my take, is that we just have to remember they're a AA size studio making a AA plus game.
Pretty much. I appreciate that commentary. And so as we start working our way out from this episode, I'd like to give everybody opportunity to talk about the content that coming down the pipeline, and also just add in what are you looking forward to the most, like just 1-2 things from that, shortened playtest. Rockhound, I'll let you kind of start with that.
I think as a content creator, I think the opportunity to actually showcase to a lot of people, what the game's about, because a lot of us have experience playing it now. And I think I'm really looking forward to a lot of new people trying it for the first time, and also getting, helping them come on board for the game as well. I mean, we know the game's great. I'm looking forward to a lot of new people finding it and enjoying it. It's probably what I'm looking forward to.
Nice. And TacticalNed.
I'm just looking forward to playing it again. There's a lot of stuff I would like to test for myself. I'm a numbers guy, and I like to find the most effective way to do things. And so I'm hoping I get to test out a lot more of that during this server test. In terms of content, right now I'm pretty dry just because I've been waiting on Arc. But shortly after the the server slam, and then on the game's arrival, I'd like to work on put out some things very soon after, like a complete mastery breakdown and like the best path to take for those, so everyone can get them done as quickly as they want, as well as just overall some guides for the game. Arc Raiders is extremely fun and has all those little details that I love to break down and find all the details about them.
Nice. And Rockhound, back to you real quick. Just you didn't mention any kind of content coming out of the pipe. Please don't tell us you're dry, man.
Yeah, so I put out my trailer breakdown. Put out my trailer breakdown for the pre-order trailer last week, and
Okay.
I want to get back to actually talking about some of the things around the pre-orders and just my take on those a little bit. So I'm aiming to get that out this week as well.
Nice. And Fringe, what are you looking forward to the most on the playtest, and also just content coming down the pipe?
Yeah, for me personally, inside of this playtest, I'm really looking forward to dialing in my day one strategy so we can hit the full launch of this game running. We can hit the ground running with the full launch of this game. You know, that's what I'm really looking forward to. Figuring out the do's, the don'ts, what quest line works easiest to be done first, how quickly is it to level, all of that good stuff. That's what I'm really looking forward to, which is honestly why I'm glad it's all kind of sitting inside of Damn. You know, it's going to be nice and simple, like, to learn the basics. And content wise, we've always got things coming out in several different games. With Arc Raiders specifically, I'm in the process of working on a bit of a theory crafted game strategy when it comes to leveling up our skills and what order I want to level up my skills in. I'm probably going to post a theory crafted video, and then come the full launch, we'll be posting a fully refined video for that. And then also the live streams, we're running those 6 days a week, and when it comes to Arc Raiders, we're definitely going to be knocking it down. So once Rockhound is off the live stream, once Gecko's done streaming and Ned's done streaming, be sure to stop on by.
Yeah, I believe you have a kind of a weird, I won't say weird, but that's definitely not normal stream schedule, but it's a pretty consistent one. So for those late night owls.
The stream schedule is the overnights. 80% of my jobs have been overnight, so it just kind of slots in. Also, I homeschool the kids, so I stream up until 7 a.m. I can get the kid breakfast ready, get my wife some breakfast ready, get him up, homeschool him, pass out around 2 p.m., run it back. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of works out perfectly with what we've got going on.
Living the dream. All right. So for
me, I appreciate you having me on.
Of course. For me, I'm looking forward to, I mean, kind of similar to, well, as a person who's started their channel on making guides, I want to get back to doing that. But so one of the bigger things that I want to do for the tech test, I have like 100 hours in this game, right? So it's not something that I'm looking forward to in terms of, oh man, I want to experience the game. I want to play the game again. Let's just be real. I want to play the game then, but I also want to be able to capture footage and start putting together, you know, solid guides to help continue to make this game more accessible, because I'm putting this from, I always put my guides from perspective of the regular gamer, right? And so I try to put that together in that way. That's what I'm looking forward to, is just kind of just being able to just start crafting that to a certain point. And in terms of content coming down, I do my Tuesday night streams where I just kind of chat about Arc Raiders with you guys, with the audience. And what I have, I think, I'm not sure if it'll ruffle some feathers, but it's more of like kind of giving people a fair warning about what to expect when they're coming into an extraction shooter, like a PvE game, and kind of the mindset they need to have, and that will help them be successful outside of gameplay. Just the mindset of understanding the fact that it is a PvE game, not a PvP game, not a PvE game. It is a PvE game, and ignoring any part of that is not going to bear fruit. So that's kind of what that video is going to be about. And so I want to thank everybody for being here, everyone, the participants, the chat, the viewers after the fact as well. And as usual, I'm going to let Rockhound with his fantastic voice send us out, all right?
Thanks. So everyone enjoy the rest of their day, and kia kaha. Stay strong.